Welcome, everyone, to the Rosie and Bill Show. My guest tonight is truly one of a kind. He's as funny and as nice as it gets, and when he takes the stage, a good time is had by all. Please welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show the former mayor of Spring City, Pennsylvania, James Mattern. James, welcome back, sir.
Thank you, my friend. First of all, I didn't realize that mayor of Spring City was going to haunt me forever. Not haunt, but I just didn't realize it would have like 5 years of run. Hilarious. I forgot that I said it. No disrespect to my constituents in Spring City. Also, we won't necessarily get into this, but I just made a call to start going to therapy again, and I realized they need to call me back immediately because you giving me compliments, and I'm in show business, I can't handle them at all. Like I almost cried like it was Goodwill Hunting. Like you were basically telling me it's not my fault. I can't handle it at all. It was a wonderful intro, and I'm like, oh my God, no, I'm not that person. No. Oh, so you reminded me that if they don't call me back by noon tomorrow, I'm calling them back to get back into therapy.
Well, I'm glad to help, but I have to tell you, I meant it. And if I could go on longer, I would go on longer. And James, I have to tell you, we got together a couple weeks ago, and at that time we were talking about your upcoming appearance at Soul Joel's on Good Friday, which ended
Yes.
up turning into kind of a great weekend. But that
Great
show,
Friday, yes.
yeah,
Great
it
Friday
was,
weekend, yes.
oh my God, it was spectacular. How do you do what you do, and where do you get your energy from?
Well, that probably goes back to another reason why I'm going to therapy. Too much caffeine. Probably should cut down some of the coffee during the day, but I have natural energy. I have no attention span. Um, was alone a lot growing up, so it's like you use a lot of energy to create things.
Hmm.
Constantly bored, constantly bored. It's insane. I have 9,000 subscriptions, iPad, games, comic books, books, anything at my disposal. And I'm so like, man, I really need purpose. It's crazy. So my mind moves way too quick. And that's how that madness you see on stage is, where I just can't settle down.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we also appreciate our first and longest running sponsor of the show, Tom and his team of insurance professionals at the Mallon Agency. If world-class customer service and doing business with someone you can trust is important to you, give Tom and his team a call today for all your insurance needs. I'll tell you what, it's magical. It's magical madness if there is such a thing. I'll tell you, and it's entertaining and truly a good time was had by all. Now, James, you just mentioned something that I think is maybe a good segue into why I wanted to bring you back tonight, and that was to really talk about your journey and not just any single appearance or anything. And you just said you were alone a lot when you were younger. And I was thinking about like, how do we start this conversation about your journey? And maybe that's a good place. Let's go back to when you were younger and what was it like for you growing up?
But you might be actually, this might be through the Ellis Institute that I called. I feel like I'm going to get my therapy tonight. This is
Okay.
terrific. This is what the kids would call kismet. Dude, raised by my grandparents. Grandma was German, came from Germany after the war, where it was destroyed. Her whole family
Hmm.
was basically killed because they unfortunately had to fight for the wrong side. That's fun. That's a shame that will always be in me. My grandpa's Italian German. Don't know my dad. Mom came back from Mexico pregnant at 19. Maybe she was 20 when she came back. She had gave birth to me at 20. I think she was 19 when she was pregnant. Uh, we're not sure who my dad is. Mom was a addict. That's fun. And found out on accident once while watching a wrestling pay-per-view with her and my stepdad that she was a prostitute these days. So my dad could be anyone. Love that face. Love it. I've seen that face several times when I've told this story. It's a consistent face. And so somehow I haven't gone to jail yet, so that's nice. Or killed myself. So at 47. So it's a big victory. It's why I'm a mess probably, and why my act is so chaotic, and probably why I'll never be huge, and that's okay because it is so chaotic. All
Well,
right,
I
well,
don't,
I don't think we have to go anywhere else. We figured it all out. This is a great
No, well,
podcast. I'll talk to you later.
well, I will tell you, for what it's worth, I know my mom found out at 55 that she was adopted and went on this journey for several years trying to find her biological mother and father. So I
Wow.
can understand, what that situation can be like at least a little bit. But I have to say though, going through what you did as a kid growing up, like what did you do to keep yourself occupied? What did you do to kind of stay sane growing up? What were you into?
Well, I was really bored. Um, I would read comic books, sitcoms. So it's a very fascinating thing to have. I wonder someone in my situation now, what they end up being and where their head goes. Because
Mm,
I don't want to be the old guy, but there was like three channels and a UHF station
yeah.
that would go to static after like one. They'd show an old movie at 9, um, music videos for most of the day, bad cartoons that at the time I loved, and now you're like, oh my God, how horrible was that goddamn G.I. Joe show? And so all these things that seep into you. Yeah, I mean, my grandparents did what they had to. They had a business that wasn't succeeding, and they're just trying to feed one last kid and
Mm.
get some redemption from their my mom and a couple other kids had some rough times at times as well. So yeah, a lot of times just alone and you're just like reading and like when I got older, it became more like sports almanacs and I just study those.
Oh,
I ended
wow.
up having friends probably starting around fifth grade, real friends. And so that built, but it was and so I go play ball and shit like that. But it was a lot of just Marvel Comics, man. Seriously, a lot of that and like stupid different strokes and boring ass Family Ties and the Transformers and Spider-Man cartoons.
So where did you grow up? What area?
I'm from Las Vegas, man,
Okay.
which was pure desert then. Like you would walk
Yeah.
by you'd wave at scorpions on your way to get a Slurpee across the desert into the one parking lot.
Well, one thing I'm thinking about though, James, is as you're talking about that, I think sometimes as a kid, you're almost like shielded by not really knowing kind of your situation because a lot of time you don't have a chance to put it in perspective, and it's
Yeah.
not oftentimes until you get older and you kind of look back. So as you're growing up and going through all these things and keeping yourself occupied as much as you can, when and where did comedy enter the scene for you?
So I had an aunt who was real chill. She was great. She would babysit me a couple days a week. I lived with her, but like because the age thing, my mom's older or younger siblings lived at the house too, up till I was probably like 4 or 5. And then like when my aunt moved out when she was like 20, she'd come and like pick me up on a Tuesday, take me to a movie, whatever. She had cable back then, was amazing. So
Oh,
we could eat SpaghettiOs and watch Super Friends like at noon. Are you out of your mind? Great. And so she swears that I told her at a young age that I wanted to be a comedian because she told me this wonderfully horrible children's joke of why did the elephant stand on the marshmallow so he wouldn't fall into the hot chocolate. And so I wrote my own, like, why did the monkey stand on the apple, didn't want to fall in the milk? Like, just, I saw a pattern, didn't realize why it was a joke with hot cocoa and marshmallows. So I just found another food and another animal and another, it was just insanity. But she still gets a kick telling people that that's what I said. And not like it just, I tried to make a joke, did not know why it didn't work, but made myself laugh.
yeah. Well, there's clearly a sign. Something was there. There was a seed there that was planted, with that pretty clear to me. So when you got to say high school age, what kind of things were you involved in? What did you do for fun then? And did you have any career aspirations for any other fields other than comedy?
So I was this height basically in 5th grade. And then I got into basketball at 6th grade. And I played, was it 6th grade? No, seventh. And then I was a big man at 5'10" in that
Mm,
grade. And just posting bitches up, grabbing rebounds. And I figured because I'm so intelligent that I was going to keep growing,
yeah.
and that at worst I'd be 6, 7 and a half, and I would at worst finish a long career in Italy, because that was a big thing there. You'd see these guys go to Italy and
Yeah.
just great. And oh my goodness. And during the Olympics, you'd hear about Oscar Schmidt and these guys making great careers there. I'm like, I'm Italian, terrific. And I stopped growing and then had to become a shooting guard and could not dribble and got cut from the team just in fabulous fashion in ninth and 10th grade. And so at that point, I started growing my hair because a buddy of mine, I lost all my friends because I got in a fight with my cousin and they chose him
Oh,
because his brothers were popular and I was the goofy kid who was missing a tooth still. Oh yeah, I didn't have a tooth here from about age 8 to roughly 14 or 15. No tooth, just nothing. Just an empty net at the end of the third period. So there was that. So that has a lot to do with my self-esteem. And boy, this really is the therapy session I'm probably going to have. I might save money and just stop obsessing. So all the answers are in this first 15 minutes. Thank you, bro. Dude, so there's that. And then I had like a couple friends. One dude was like, got me into like Led Zeppelin because I
mm,
did like rock music. I was really into like Guns N' Roses and Aerosmith and hair metal ruled the
mm.
day at that point. And so there was that. And then I got like immersed in Zeppelin. I told my mom I really need a bass so I could join this band called, let's see, Polymorphic. Fuck, what was their name? It was awful. It was like no, like it was. I'm embarrassed. I can't remember. It was the dumbest name ever. We had one jam session 2.5 years later after the idea of it. So I got a bass. So I just become a bass player in ninth grade, just fussing around, no rhythm, all that shit. I pay Wayne Newton's nephew, like, I forget. I want to say $75 an hour. No chance I had that laying around. Probably 15 or $20 for an hour for lessons that were so basic. But like 15, $20 to a freshman in high school in the early 90s is $75 an hour.
Oh
So there you
yeah.
go. So I did that. I'm also in theater. So I'm doing that. I'm doing theater. And because I have such a complex of never being a star, not good enough to be a star, in my head, as I climb the ladder in theater and start getting leads, my goal is if I pursue acting, I want to be just win Best Supporting Actor. That's all I ever wanted. That's always been in my head. If I
Wow.
was a wrestler, I wanted to be the Intercontinental Champion. I wanted to be the middleweight boxing champion. I wanted to be the guy off the bench hitting the home run, pinch hitting, or the fourth quarter, the quarterback who comes in. I never had it in my mind to be that guy. So I should lay down on this couch the way this is going. And so those were my aspirations. And then I did want to be in bands, and I was in some, and they were more funny than good in college. And we broke up on stage, one of them. We just wanted to offend people because at that point, you end up getting to like Ice-T's metal band Body Count, the Butthole Surfers, all these cool bands. And then I ended up wanting to become a music journalist, and I got the Spin. I could see it now. I got another copy of it, the Spin Alternative Music Guide. When that came out, that was mind blowing. And you'd read about these bands. And I just really, me and a couple buddies really got into these bands that just talked wild shit and just it were funny, but like offensive. And we like NWA. I mean, you listen to the second NWA record; it's pure dribble and really offensive and horrible. But man, to when you're 16 to 24 or whatever, you're like, oh,
Oh
this is
yeah.
great. And it's so punk rock. I mean, the first record still is pretty punk rock. I mean, straight out of Compton's unbelievable. So we got into that, like punk and just attitude and wanting to piss people off. And so that was those years in 2 minutes. I hope I covered that. I think I got
Wow.
everything.
Yeah, I think you just brought us into college, if I'm not mistaken,
I
right?
think I brought us into graduate school that I didn't go
Yeah.
to. I mean, yeah.
So what were you majoring in? Like, what were your thoughts about what you were going to do with the, were you thinking about taking the music route or acting, or what were you thinking?
I thought music probably till my junior year. And then my buddy gets out of the military. His dad was real military dude, said, don't come home after 9. So he'd just crash. I'm still living with my grandparents. He'd just crash on the floor and we'd rent uh comedy. He was like, this was back when like there's tapes, DVDs, and there's like people don't realize there used to be like 20 specials in existence. That's
Oh
why
yeah.
the name was called Special. Special. So
Yeah.
we'd watch like old Kinnison and Pryor and stuff like that. And Kaufman, we're huge into Kaufman. And then I'd show him a little bit of guitar and bass. And then within months, I'm now doing stand up at open mics, and he's like writing songs. And he ended up having like a pretty decent career back in Vegas, you know, and
Huh.
as a musician. So that happened. I also went to school. I went to like a thing for UNLV. That was where I went. I just scribbled film. I didn't care. Just the punk in me is like film. So now I'm a film major. I don't have any intentions of taking film at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, known for hotels and shit. I'm now in my mind, I'm like, I was going to be a teacher. So I wanted to be education. So I got to scribble education. I got stuck in education. You can't transfer out of that once you put education.
Oh.
I got talked out of being a history teacher because my buddy's mom, who is a teacher, goes, "Are you going to coach sports?" I go, "No." Then you can't. What do you? Where do you? They're PE and history teachers, dummy. You can't. They're not going to hire you if you're not going to coach the goddamn volleyball team. She didn't say goddamn. She was a nice Mormon lady. So, so it took me semesters to transfer out of that, and then I end up in communications. I'm like, I'm just going to write about music. At one point, I wasn't going to do entertainment. I was just going to be a critic. I really excelled at the school paper, writing reviews of movies and concerts and albums, and I really liked it. And I got into the art of it. There was a book on Lester Bangs, who Philip Seymour Hoffman plays so skillfully
Mm.
and wonderfully and Almost Famous. That's a real person, and he was like the punk rock poet of criticism. And I'd say, you know, anyone who's good at that comes from him at some point, you know. I really was obsessed with Spin Magazine, and I would just carry that around with my papers. It got to the last 2 years of UNLV, I didn't even have a book. I wouldn't even buy the books. They'd be like, "What are you studying?" I'm like, "Well, we're supposed to be studying this on Frederick Douglass, but you know, this is the Beastie Boys oral history, and I've read it 5 times, and here's my paper on Frederick Douglass, and it's pretty cool, and I think you probably like them." Insanity, yeah, yeah.
So did you finish? Did you end up what did your what was your
I got
degree
a
in? Did
degree
you
in
finish up?
communications,
Okay.
uh, minor. I couldn't technically get a minor. It was just outside interest is what they called it. But on stage, I'm gonna say minor because goddamn, I took enough class. It was poli sci,
Okay. Yeah,
which
no,
is
I have a degree in communications too, so that means you and I talk gooder than most people, right?
we do talk really well, real well, my friend. Yes.
Oh man. So where did you go from there? So you have this degree in communications. You loved, writing all those critiques and carrying that magazine around with you and doing all that stuff. Where did you go next?
Waiting tables, which I was still doing to get me through it. Here's the thing. So
And were you still doing stand up?
I had started stand up, and so that was going to become a problem. Started stand up in 2001. So my last semester. So that was going to be a problem. I knew I was in love with it. And then
Mhm.
I get out of college. I was like amazed there was no criticism classes. So as confident as I was, I kind of was like, shouldn't there be a class to teach me how to be a critic? No one took it serious. So I was even wondering how to go and get a job. I got offered a job. There's a kid I went to school with who was running the sports department at the Henderson Home News, which is like the little Henderson's like now a bigger city, but it was like a suburb of Las Vegas. So I wrote an article about like boxing. They needed someone to go cover UNLV's club boxing team, and I got rave reviews. I got hired, and then I became like a high school sports like reporter, which was great for football. You'd be on the sidelines, but very weird. I got to cover girls' high school soccer. I did not enjoy that as much because it was very weird. Because people looked at a guy who was older than everyone with a pad, and they looked at me. They're hoping I was a scout for college, but there's like, is there a creep? What is going on here? It just felt weird. And I'm always born suspect in my head. I just assume people look at me and think I'm a golem. So that was weird, and so we phased that out. And I just waited tables and did stand up until I got a union job waiting tables. That happens, and I saved money for 2 years and moved to New York because my buddy Shuley was on the Stern Show, and he moved out here, and so he's like, "I got a floor, dude." And then me and this other kid ended up out there in New York.
Wow. So I was wondering when you made that move and like were you scared, nervous, about making that big move east to New York to the big city?
It was time. It was getting to the point, to quote Good Will Hunting again, where my friends were like, "Well, maybe you got to get the fuck out of here, dude. It's like we don't want to see you here anymore." And so Halloween we threw a party, and with my shyness of girls, it was a girl I made out with a couple times, but I could never pull the trigger, and because I'm just once again weird in my head and lack confidence in a lot of ways. So I turned my back at the party. She ends up sleeping with a roommate. And then my buddy's wife goes for a walk with me. She's dressed as Apollonia from Purple Rain, Prince's Apollonia, because my one of my best friends is obsessed with Prince, and he did like 5 straight years going as different versions of Prince. They met when he was Prince with his ass cheeks out, which was phenomenal. And then years later, they're married, and she's dressed as Apollonia, walking around not the best neighborhood in North Las Vegas, Nevada. And she's like, and I'm like, maybe I don't know. I feel like I have no purpose here. I need to do comedy. I'm getting my heart broken. I have no confidence in things. I'm I might be a bit of a big fish in a small pond. And she's like, you gotta go then. The
Wow.
irony is they end up getting divorced, and I end up having to do like talks with him to get his head right over her. But she had a great moment in my life. So thank you, Jen. But yeah, so within months, I just was figuring it out. I was like, all right, I'm going to quit in January my job. I'm going to go to LA for a week, New York for 2, and figure it out. And then I moved March 3rd.
How difficult was it to sort of navigate your way into things once you got to New York?
Well, I had a bit of a guide with Shuli, my best female friend growing up. She had been living here for a few years, aspiring to do acting.
Okay.
I ended up moving in with her and another girl, and there was a sublet there for a little bit. For like, I was there in that apartment for like a year, and then we had another one for a year and a half, 2 years. Then she left, and then so she showed me the ropes. And then you just go to open mics, you make friends. All the
Hmm.
open micers, there's a camaraderie. At least there was then, and that becomes like your little crew. But it's weird because you envision going to New York or LA and becoming friends with comics, and the experience is different. It took me years to feel what you read about or saw, like in the Seinfeld documentary, and it's because this sounds crazy. I'm looking around. I'm like, is this really the crew? Is this? Are we going to be the guys? And then eventually, you. Now I look back. Later, there was some of those guys, but the initial open mic, most of those people don't even do stand up anymore. But it's weird. At
Wow.
the beginning, you're like, oh, I don't know if this is it. I don't know if this is that great. And you're kind of right. There were some nice people, but it wasn't the nucleus of people who end up working a lot later. But then, you got to do that to get to the next. You got to write 8 screenplays, throw them away.
Hmm.
You got to write 100 songs, throw them away to get to the good stuff. You got to muck some hands at poker. Does
Oh,
it sound like I was just listening to Robert Rodriguez on Joe Rogan's podcast? I basically just stole the 3 screenplays thing he just said. Shout out to you, Robert Rodriguez, good filmmaker.
well, I'll tell you, as you're talking about that, James, I had no idea what it would take just to write like 5 minutes of quality or semi-quality material until I took the classes, that we had talked about last time at Soul
Yeah.
Joel's. And I just have so much more respect for anyone who can, an hour to me seems almost unattainable, but just even trying to get 5, 10, 15 minutes consistently funny. Some people do it better than others, I guess, at least in the beginning. But what are some of the lessons that you learned kind of early on as you were breaking in and kind of moving up and growing in the business?
Oh man, you don't even realize you're learning a lesson. You don't even, and then there's always older comics who come off as bitter
Hmm.
when they try to teach you something because they're trying to protect the business. And things do change, standards do change. So I have to, now that I'm that guy and I'm like these assholes, and I try to be, okay, look, shouldn't do this here. Like, uh, but things do change. But you end up becoming somewhat. I don't think I'm as shitty as some of these other people were. There's some people who are real shitty on the way up, but there's some people who just were like, hey, maybe you should try this. Man, you don't understand. I mean, you kill once, you have one good set, especially like if you bring 50 people from your work or
Oh
whatever in your
yeah.
life, you crush, and then you're like, dude, I am Kinnison after the first appearance on Letterman. Kiss my balls. And oh my God, this guy Mateo. I mean, I'm guessing this kid might be dead, but he was he called me superstar. Like like the prison guards called Burt Reynolds in The Good Longest Yard.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
yeah, the first one.
superstar. He's being a dick to me. And he saw it. He's like, "Oh, you're a rock star now." And my friends were giving him nothing. And this guy was established in the Vegas open mic scene for a couple of years. And now I get it. Now I've seen it years later. So what have I learned? Lessons. Be humble that you're always going to bomb. You're always going to learn.
Hmm.
Um, don't brag about killing. Jesus Christ, it's annoying. I remember once there was like a contest at the Stardust, which doesn't even exist anymore. Anything like this in Vegas, you thought was going to be your big break, dude. And they're oh, it was awful. And a lot of those people who are the judges are terrible people and always hated me. They might have been right then. I mean, I probably was atrocious back then with my standards now, but atrocious. So they probably are right. But I remember writing, "What do you love about like all these questions? How many years? What is this? Who's your influences? What's your favorite part?" And I go, "Killing. It gets better every time." Yuck. Shut up, stupid. Stink. And so, you just you get you the thing I end up learning is you're going to get your teeth knocked out nonstop. So you just pick them up. You learn why you got your teeth knocked out, and then you try to figure out how to get less teeth knocked out.
Hmm.
And it's like my good friend Giannis Pappas always said that comedy shows and clubs basically are gyms. Now, like tapings and stuff, or like if headlining, maybe not. You could argue that that's not the gym, but you can still work out a little in there. Um, when I do warm up, whatever, dude. When I open for Chris or someone big on the road, it's not a gym. But like they're gyms. You're supposed to like develop your muscle. So when it counts, it counts. When it's time to make it count. But you're supposed to grow. And so that's the best lesson I end up learning is to
Hmm.
like just keep getting better. I mean, I shouldn't admit this. I just hosted an audition that only had about 15 people last night. Luckily, I get to do it again in a couple days, and hopefully there's more people. But I tried my best. I'm not happy with it. So I'm kind of excited that I get to
Hmm.
get in front of the festival people again and other comics and do better. So I'm still going through it in my head. What could I have done? And so that's exciting. I've been doing this almost 25 years and I like make my living. And it's still like, okay, I might have made some bad choices. I mean, I might make bad choices tonight on stage. And then I either can learn from it or not for tomorrow.
I think that's a great approach and a great way to look at it, James. And I'm wondering, like, was there any particular moment or event that you can look to and maybe you were like, maybe not so much arrived, but belonged, where you really felt this is what you should be doing? What was there a day that you were like, yeah, I made the right decision doing this and I'm going to stick with this?
Well, that's a fair question. Well, I mean, so in Vegas, this which was our home club was a nightclub that did stand up on Saturdays, occasionally on Friday, occasionally on a Thursday, and they had a contest, and man, I didn't make the semis, and I came home. I was on a Friday, and I'm like, I knew I was better than all those cats, and I listened to this band, The Dictators, which had this great song, "Next Big Thing." I just played it on a loop. My roommates were like out trying to get like, you know, talk to girls and relax from a real job. And I was like, man, I got to figure out what I'm doing. Maybe I should quit. I'm so depressed. And I'm like, maybe next year I'll get them. And then the next year I want it. And I still was, if I watched the tape now, I'd probably still think I'm horrible. But that was a good one. And then there was a thing years ago. This dude did, it was Olympic year, obviously, the Comedy Olympics. Now, it wasn't like the big comics in town were doing it. It's people who were like playing the B rooms, but I cracked into the B rooms. And there was teams instead of countries. And I was with some, I mean, it was really good. You know what, man? I want to be honest. I think Nate Bargatze was on the team. So I really think it was Dustin Chafin, who opens for Nate and is doing great. Leah Bonema, who's great on the road a lot. Myself, and I want to say Bargatze, who's like the biggest comic in the world. So there was categories. There was like one-liners. There was tight five. There was topical, and then there was crowd work heckling. And so at the
Hmm.
Laugh Lounge, which doesn't exist anymore, I went on and there'd be plants like yelling at you, and I just did crowd work and handle them, and I won the gold. And it made me. It's dumb, but it made me go, all right, we're probably going to be okay. Just stick with this shit. And it was nice, and then it made its round around, made the word around like the B rooms that I did that helped me get other stuff.
Okay.
Still a huge journey, before you get any respect of real world work, but it was nice. It's these glimmers. It's
Yeah.
just putting one toe into the door.
Well, and you know, one thing that's been interesting, James, in the time I've been doing this show, and I've had the opportunity to talk with some amazing comedians like yourself, some musicians, singers, rock and roll Hall of Famers, country music Hall of Famers. And one of the things that really impresses me is the ones who seem to be the most successful, they're humble, but they're also always working, always trying to get better. Some of the best vocalists in the world still have a vocal coach and still work
Yeah.
with people to get better. Some of the best songwriters will bounce things off of other good writers, and that's something I was curious about with you is your writing. How has that evolved over the years, and what does that process look like for you?
Well, I ended up I stopped kind of doing crowd work for a while, and I just focused on jokes, but I was still hosting and material. And then I kind of wasn't getting the biggest laughs as I used to,
Hmm.
but I was becoming a better host, and I kind of maybe took a step back, but I knew I had to take a step back to go forward. And now I can mix them both, but I had to do that year or two where I was sacrificing my own a little bit to just get better. And so like uh I'm not the best writer still. Luckily, because those years I got better, I just like write a couple words down usually or a sentence or two, and then I work on it on stage and then figure out the beats from failure or stumbling upon it the first couple times and it works, and turning to someone in the back of the room, hey, can you say, hey, stupid, remember this? Okay. And then I get off stage, hey, stupid, remember to say this way. Okay, thank you. It's just how that is. Other people are so disciplined. It doesn't work for me that way. I wish it did.
Well, one thing I was curious about was, and I'm glad you said that, was because I can't help but think after seeing you at Soul Joel's a few weeks back, and obviously seeing all that I've seen over the years on video and YouTube and whatnot, is that no two shows are going to be exactly alike, and it's just going to be hilarity at different levels and at different times, but it's all like that's one of the things that really impresses me with what you do is how everything just looks off the cuff. It just looks like spontaneous to me
I
that you're
am a
doing.
snowflake. I mean, I've been accused of that so many times. Yeah, it's just boring to do the same show over and over for me. Some people can. It's just I can't do it. Anytime I've tried to have a set, I mean, I can have like a fishbone, like a couple things, but it's loose. Like I just can't, it just doesn't work. I become robotic. Even with this looseness, sometimes I get in a pattern where I'm doing 10 minutes up front. I kind of do the same couple things inside crowd work and it becomes monotonous. And then you can tell that I don't sell the couple jokes that I'm telling the way they should anymore. You got to mix it up and be not be scared of it not working. It works because you don't care if it works. You're like, I'm just going to do it. And then it becomes a thing and then it succeeds. And then you fall into the trap of, well, that's what works. But it worked because you didn't fall into the trap of A plus B plus C plus D. It's just,
Hmm.
I'm going to see what happens. I'm just going to trust that I'm going to figure it out in front of them. And anytime I do that in my head before I go on, it's going to be great. But anytime I'm like audition, when I do auditions and it's like your best five, fuck. Hey guys, I just feel like an insurance salesman who's just no offense, it's just dumb. I feel
Well,
like Charlie Sheen in Major League. Oh, I look like a banker in this button up. It's just dumb. I don't feel like am who I am. So, but I have to trust that I'm going to fail a little bit, and
yeah.
that's how I can succeed. Even when I kill, I bomb. It's okay. There's always going to be a little bit that doesn't work. But in my mind, I don't see the part that bombed after, and then I'm like, all right, see, this is what I got to do. I got to do this, and this is what works. It worked because I allowed myself to have dips.
Yeah, I think that's pretty profound. And I know I've heard from several other people too that one of the keys in their evolution was not trying to appease people and just putting stuff out there and just being who you are and what you are. And there's all these different epiphanies that I've heard and I think for you it's just being you. And it's what comes out is you and it works.
Well, It didn't on the early show last night, but that's the beauty. We got one tonight. Yeah. But accepting it. I mean, even sometimes being you doesn't work. Sometimes people don't want you, and you just have to suck it up and figure out either how to be you and win them, or brush your shoulders off. Can we still quote Jay-Z now? I don't know if he's a pariah anymore. I don't know.
I know. No, I understand that for sure. Now, we talked about your show a few weeks back at Joel's and that whole weekend. If we were to look at, and you just talked about what you've got coming up tonight and over these next couple nights, but what else do you have in the works? Any projects, anything in particular that's in the works for you here the rest of 2025?
So I just got footage from Joel's that night after you saw me. I ended up going into the speakeasy. I have a project that's comedy and music that we're going to start, and I did it on stage the next day. I don't know if I want to say it out loud before I put out the videos, and then someone could steal it. But it's like I'm doing something that's
Then we
fun,
can
and it's
wait. We'll have you
me,
back and talk about it.
and I enjoy it, and it's something different, and it's like all the things I like,
Yeah.
music and old show business and just cool shit like that. So, and it feels kind of punk and avant at the same time, familiar. But can you tell I watched and read a lot about the Beastie Boys? I sound like them bullshitting what their albums are. It's like a New Jack Soul, but with some neo punk. It's insanity. Whatever. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I like the footage I got sent, and I'm exchanging ideas with people right now, and so that's really what I'm looking forward to, and it's got me out of my nonstop obsessive misery in my head. So God bless this project. Even if it doesn't take off, it is giving me something to work on, and it's
Oh,
great.
absolutely. And I think it's refreshing. I mean, that to me is going to be something that's different. It's going to be unique. And yeah, I'd love to have you back and talk about it and look
Right.
forward to seeing it when it's done because I know you had mentioned it that could be a possibility for that next night after your show on Friday. So I'm
And we
glad to
did
hear
it.
that came off.
We did. Here, I do street jokes, old street jokes with original music. I play a six-string ukulele, and it looks ridiculous. It just shouldn't work, and it did fine. And so we're going to do more of this.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's definitely something to look forward to. So, before we wrap things up, James, I wanted to just take a second here. We just look forward to that project, but now I'd like to take a second and look back. If you look back at everything we've talked about so far in your journey from Vegas to New York and everything you've done, what are you most proud of?
Oh man, what am I most proud of? What have I done? It's weird. Um, you caught me in a moment of feeling up. I mean, it's you don't want to be that guy who goes, well, it's the next thing. But I mean, it's nice having a thing that I want to do next. It's on to the next. I mean, I've done some cool things. It's really weird. I don't know what I mean. Just surviving's a big thing, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the thing. Just getting to the point where it's your only money. That's your job. That was like all I cared about. And then people start being like, well, what are you going to do when you're 60? I don't know, man, but I'm happy that I'm not waiting tables right now. And then I could just go to this club and do that. I mean, on to the next, dude. On to the next. I mean, I'm proud I finally got into the cellar. Dude, opening for Chris in these theaters is awesome. And some of my other friends in theaters and cool shit like that. Dope. I've worked on some cool TV shows with some cool people. So I'm excited to see what is next.
Yeah, there you
And if
go.
it's nothing, it still was great. But I'll keep reaching for something else and just hopefully I keep growing as a person and an artist and have ideas that I want to get out there. That's more important than anything. And hopefully
And
become a better person. Every day try to be a better person and try to love myself. So next time I'm here and you give a nice intro, I'm not cowering and be like, oh.
well, those are definitely worth being proud of, and also some things to look forward to as well. So that brings me to my last question, which goes back to looking ahead, and that is, you just kind of touched on it, I think, a little bit. What would success ultimately look like for you?
I mean, it's this. It's being a working comic. Like I said, that's all that mattered. It's weird when people are like, "Well, when you make it," I'm like, "What you think make it is not probably what I care about." Like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to be the lead in a movie. I'm not going to sell out an arena by myself. But I'll get to open at an arena, and I like that a lot. I don't have the pressure of my friend having to sell tickets and do an hour plus to these people who've been waiting months to see them. I just get to go out for 10, 15 minutes, go, hey, dummy, blah, blah, blah. You ready to see my friend? Fuck you. Let's go. Like, it's great. That's awesome. Get paid decent. There's usually some good catering. It's awesome. It's what a hoot that is. And come out to some rock song that I just labor over for a month. What is my walkout music? I mean, it's insanity. Hey, should I come out to this? What do you think of this? But what if I do this? Just pick a song, stupid, is what usually people say. But so like I mean, just doing this. Not, I mean, I have friends still slinging hammers, and so I could be slinging a hammer. It's great. This is success, but it lets people down because people, if you're in any aspect of show business, they think it's the pure brass ring, and it's like my brass ring is I just want to be like good and respected at what I do, and I think I'm a pretty good host. I think people know that, and just I think people know what I bring. That's all I care about. I want to be the best at that. I mean, I hope there's more hosts in New York City that people talk about that are great that come out in the next few years, and then that'll make me become even better as a host or a warm up or an opening act. I want more of that. I want more kids to get better at it to push my game to get better, so I don't lose spots to them. That's a level of success. Just I want to keep getting pushed to be better.
There you go. No, I think that's awesome. In fact, I think wasn't it your ability and skills as a host that led to your becoming the mayor of Spring City during the pandemic, right?
The mayor of Spring City. I mean, it's insane. Joel just like, you could just stay here and host, and Deanna and the kids like you can hang out here. And all right, okay. And it just happened, and it was great. I mean, it's that. I mean, that's a big moment too, because while a lot of people weren't getting reps, I was working, and I was able to work with all these big time people that I wasn't necessarily getting in front of a lot because I wasn't in at the cellar yet, and I was working with them and holding it down and becoming a part of this community as best as you can as things weren't really open. And it was really cool. It's nice. I mean, these people come out and they still love me. It's really nice. I was there a lot. I mean, there's people who think I'm from Spring City and Royersford and all that. It's so nuts. They're like, when did you move to New York? I had an apartment for years. Like, it's just, I was living in South Brooklyn when all this shit was going down. I had an apartment in Brooklyn at that point. But people are like, hey man, so when did you get to the city? 06. No man, but what, coming from the suburbs of Philly? I'm like, I never really lived there, but kind of did.
Well, that love was evident in the room on the 18th on Good Friday. You could see it and hear it when you came back just a few weeks ago. That's for sure.
It was fun, man. It was a good time. And then, we did another show the next night. People showed up. Like Joel announced it like at 9 in the morning. I was sleeping. And when I woke up, I was like, yeah, after you host the 7, you're headlining again. All right. It's fun. Great.
Awesome. If I'd have been around that night, I'd have been there myself. So I'm looking forward to the next time you come back anywhere to this area, James. And also, I think at some point, whatever it is, whatever you're doing, whether it's the music project or whatever else, we got to have you back. And maybe we just have a recurring conversation every now and then, because there's very few that I've had in the hundreds that I've had that I enjoy anywhere near as much as these ones that I'm having with you.
Well, I appreciate it, baby. Anytime.
Awesome.
Even with me fighting allergies. Can you hear my nose full of mocos? I just ran in Central Park and my allergies are telling me to jump in a lake, baby.
Yeah, it's bad. My Allegra's working overtime and the neti pot and all that stuff. Got to do what we got to do to get through these next few weeks and hopefully have a break till the fall stuff kicks in.
See, look at us, two edgy performers who are closing a podcast about neti pots. That's what we do. Look, man, you get old, you lose your edge. I hate to break it to you.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're fighting to keep it, man. So, James, great talking to you again. Look forward to seeing you again soon. And folks, we thank you for watching. We couldn't do it without you. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, baby.
Look, hi. I only got 45 minutes. Can we have fun tonight, please? Can we have some fun, please? This set's gonna be all over the place. I have ADD or whatever they call it now. They keep adding letters, and if I can't focus, how am I gonna learn the new letter? All right, what is it? ADHD? Yeah, whatever. Someone the other day goes, "What's your problem?" I go, "I got HD TV." So there you go. First joke. Look, I wanted to go. Look, it's good to see the Teamsters up front. Good to see you guys, all right? I'm going to be honest. I got to do 7 minutes clean. It's a lot of pressure, all right? I'm supposed to host upstairs. This man's got his legs spread like Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct. It's too much. All right? I could get last any time. God bless you, sir. If you're not my real dad, who is, okay? I almost cursed. I'm trying not to curse. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be the shepherd. You look like a Sunday school teacher. Stay up another 5 hours. Look, honestly, I don't know my dad. He gave me this hairline and a peanut allergy, so I got a lot to discuss. That's very aggressive. Yes, sir. You're either bald or you know my dad and killed him. Good for you, sir, all right? I hate having a peanut allergy because when I fly, I can't sit next to anyone who eats peanuts, so I have to tell the airline I'm allergic to peanuts, which is cool, and then they don't serve peanuts, and then guess what, dog? They tell everyone on the plane where they're not eating peanuts. Yeah, airlines are a bunch of snitches, okay? Because I can never understand the pilot until he rats me out, right? Like every other word is just blah, 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 peanuts, blah, 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 window seat, blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, we usually serve delicious, wonderful peanuts that taste like a hug, but we can't because sitting in 22C is a little ass bitch.
This week's episode has been brought to you by Doherty & Company Insurance Services for all your business and personal insurance needs. Our friends at Tennis Addiction in Exton, PA. And the Malin Agency, where exceeding expectations is how they do business.